All right, so I'm excited here. I'm in Austin, Texas with Omari, Broussard, and Andrew O'Brien with Leveraged Influence. And so thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm down here. They have an event, and I'm excited to be a part of that. And so we're killing two birds with one stone and doing some my second in-person podcast episode here today. But Championship Leadership's the name of the podcast. And, you know, when I first heard or thought of this, actually a friend recommended the name to me. I wasn't sure, but it's grown on me. And so I'm curious, I asked this to all my guests, is what do you guys think of, or what's the first thought that you have when you hear Championship Leadership?
I'm going, Omari.
I'm a big fan of leadership. Obviously, you know, with my career, when I hear championship and leadership, I hear, you know, standards of excellence, which I think everybody should raise themselves to. So when I hear a podcast name of championship and leadership, that's kind of what I'm looking for, right? What are these standards of excellence that maybe other champions or great leaders have had that I can elevate myself towards? That's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, great.
And whenever I think about championship leadership, it's more about, so when we look at influencers, the majority of them are selling the idea of nice houses, nice cars, and, you know, just this lifestyle. But when I think of championship leadership, it's the influencers who are actually leading in a positive way, not just about money, but about development, personal development, life, relationships, health, like more than just here's how to make a bunch of money. So when I hear that, I think of real leaders, not the fake ones that rent a house on Airbnb, go rent a luxury car and act like they have a great life.
Yeah, absolutely. So both of you guys are vets, yeah, as well as myself, and leadership is obviously a big part of the military. You know, who are some of the leaders in your military career, maybe that come to mind first and foremost, that have maybe helped mold or you know, your own leadership style inside of your own life?
You know, I had Sergeant Allnat. So Sergeant Allnat, he was my team leader whenever I was in, and when I was in Hawaii, I lived off base with Sergeant Allnat, which if you're not in the military, it's against the rules to do that. But I lived off base with him, and what I did, we would party every weekend, right? We would have, we were the beer pong house. So you come to our house, we play beer pong. We literally had our wall filled with beer cases of bottles, because in Hawaii, you go recycle them for 5 cents each. So we drink so much beer that the beer was paying for more beer. But what I learned more on his leadership side is we would hang out and have fun on the weekend, and he'd smoke me during the weekday, right? So it was like, you learn how to separate your personal life and your professional life. When we're at work, he's my sergeant. When we're at home, we're friends and we're roommates. So it is learning how to differentiate the two, which I think is a skill set that a lot of people are missing nowadays.
For me, there's only one name that comes to mind. Master Chief Dodd Coots, retired. I met him when I was about 14 or 15. When I decided to join the military, it was at 13, but I started talking to recruiters probably around 15 or 16. So probably met him around 15. And my recruiter, because I wanted to be a SEAL, so my recruiter's like, well, you got to meet Dodd because his dad is a SEAL. So I'm like, oh, so he introduced me to Dodd. I met his dad, Dodd Coots Sr. And at the time, he was still, he was at BUD/S at SEAL training as I think he was running the XDiv, don't worry about that. But anyway, he was a 30-year SEAL, Vietnam vet, and I learned everything about leadership from him. From not just him, but all his buddies, Mac, a couple other guys would come over to the house. They were all like old frogs. They were like plank owners of the SEAL teams that we know today. Yeah. They were like the old school cats. And he actually was my mentor from the time from 15 all the way through till I retired. I remember when I made chief, you know, he taught me at a very young age. He said, you know, in the Middle East, normally the elders eat first. He said, but me, all my guys would eat first, and then I would eat. And he said, if you eat first, then when he said, if you let the men eat first, you let the troops eat first, then when you're hungry, your plate will be overfull. So I took that lesson with me everywhere I go. So he taught me everything I know about leadership.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I was an officer in the Army, and it was definitely leaders eat last, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard lately in the marketplace, I guess you could say, of one guy in particular, I'm not going to name his name here today, but kings eat first,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just, I don't know. I don't know if he really truly believes that, or if that's just a way to set yourself apart and take a bold stand. But I definitely believe in the leaders eat last. I think there's definitely a reason. I could see why the elders would eat first, right? I mean, you're going to take care of the people that have been around for a long time and that you respect, and to honor them and allow them to go through and eat first. But what are some of the characteristics that you guys really think of as far as to be a great leader, a championship leader? What are the characteristics that stick out in your mind, like top 2 or 3?
I would say I come from the old school. My grandmother would always, anytime I had a question or anytime I would read something, she'd be like, "See that book right there? Go pick that up." And it was the Bible. So when I look at leadership and the characteristics, I don't care what religion you have, but Jesus probably meets the pinnacle of what leadership is, right? Yeah. And what did he do? He served, right? He protected, and he, served, being a servant leader, protecting those that you lead. I know I had a rule in the military that no one can talk about my folks without me knowing about it, and I would deal with them later, right? But in public, you can keep your mouth shut. Yeah. And then I think the third one is development, right? So even Jesus, he developed the 12, which developed the world. Right. So I think being a good servant, protecting those you lead, and then developing them to become better or greater than what they believe they are, those are my 3 characteristics.
Yeah, lifting them up, right?
Yeah.
And I'll do 2. So the 2 that come to my mind are empathy, right? Because empathy, I think, is something that a lot of us, maybe we fail to share often, right? But understanding where the people that follow you are, and speaking to them, and speaking to them in a way that lets them know that they're not alone, right? I think in today's world, on social media, all the leaders are out there showing this great lifestyle, but how many of them are showing the struggles, right? I don't care how much money, I don't care if you own $100 million company or whatever, but we all have struggles. And I think the more often that we hide those and try to pretend like everything is great, is why this world's depression and anxiety is consistently increasing, because they think, well, why is his life great and mine sucks? So I think empathy is one and confidence is the other. It is being proud of what you've accomplished and having that confidence as a leader to create the followers. So if you're not confident in your message, if you're not confident in yourself, then how can you expect others to be confident within you? And that's, again, another thing I think that this world is lacking on is confidence. Like, I always say I'm the best publicist there is. And it's not arrogance, it's confidence. I've worked really hard to hone in on my skill and earn that name. And I'm not going to be too scared to say that. Yeah. So I think confidence is key.
Yeah, I love it. So talk to us a little bit about what it is that you guys do, and then inside of the conversation of leadership, like I can think of there's leadership inside of, right, being a leader and having people that are willing to follow you to this common vision or mission that you have, right? And then there's also, being a leader in the marketplace, right? Mm-hmm. It's a little bit 2 different things, 2 different conversations maybe. Yeah. But just talk to us a little bit about what it is that you guys actually do for the audience, and then how leadership really pertains to what you guys, what you do.
Yeah, what we do is we take natural leaders and create more followers. Is the best way to say it, right? So someone who maybe they're out there to fix marriages. Maybe they're out there to sell houses. There's so many different markets. But what we do is we take a natural leader and we help them build followers through publicity and marketing, right? Getting the story out there, the mission out there, making sure more people know that you exist. And not just know that you exist, but see you as the authority, see you as the leader, not just another realtor, not just another marriage coach, not just another consultant, but you are the blank in this space. So a slogan I like to say is, we teach you to go from A to B instead of A to Z, right? So go from a realtor to the realtor, a coach to the coach. So we, on the side of building that following, right, this is more of the business side of things, is we really hone in on building that following around a specific person that can teach, educate, or sell someone on something important. Even someone like a realtor who may not notice, hey, all I do is sell houses. No, that's the biggest investment a human being can ever make in their life, ever, right? The majority of us.
Yeah,
the biggest thing we're ever going to purchase is the house, which means it's the most important financial decision that we make besides having kids. So if we are looking at that, we need to trust that that person selling us that house is a leader, that they're looking out for us, not looking out for their commission.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the business side. Omar, you got the other side?
As Andrew stated, the publicity side, I take care of the marketing side. It's kind of my passion, my love. I think in marketing, you demonstrate leadership in different ways, right? So in marketing, I always say, the mechanics of marketing is different than the principles, concepts, and the strategy for marketing. So when you market your business, when you market your services, or you have an offer you want to put out to the world, you want people to know that you are the option, the only option, right? And marketing can be used to create this perception in the marketplace that you are the only option. Dan Kennedy, one of my virtual mentors I've been following for years since I started, he always talks about being the category one, right? So marketing used correctly, used honestly, can make you in your target market or in your ideal customer's mind, the one, right? So for example, if somebody posts on, I think this happened to Andrew not too long ago, it happened to myself. Hey, I'm looking for so-and-so. I'm looking for someone to help me with this. And then 5 people go, oh, you need to call this person.
Yeah.
Right. And then they see you as the leader in that space. So they don't worry about going to look at everybody else. You go talk to this person, they'll get you squared away.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's that part.
Well, so you were talking about leaders and helping them to get more followers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we always think of a leader as somebody that has a following, right?
Right.
That's kind of the definition of a leader, but there are a lot of people with great leadership tools or skills without the following, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what you guys really do is it hard to, in a way, what you guys do is you're helping to lead this leader, right? And
right.
So I think, one of the great characteristics of leaders is to be humble enough to realize, to allow it to be led, right?
Mm-hmm.
To put their ego aside. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit. You run into those leaders that don't have or have a hard time putting that ego aside to be led. But also the other piece of it is to really help these people with these true skills and qualities of a championship leader to get in front of people to create that following so that they can actually impact.
Yeah, so the first part of that, right, the talking about the ego, that's a huge thing I'm passionate about. So what I've realized is the biggest damaging tool that exists in today's business world is ego, right? And I fully believe that you can't make a great leader until you first make a great follower, right? Because in order to understand your followers, you must first become a follower. Follow someone else's tips or advice or their content, because I believe we all follow someone. No matter who you are, no matter how big you are, Grant Cardone still follows people, right? Warren Buffett still follow people. Like the biggest things that you can think of all have the people that they look up to and that they follow. But I think what happens is, I call it the Chihuahua syndrome. You start building an audience for yourself and you start living within your own world. And when you're stuck in your own world, you think that you're big. You're a big fish in a little pond.
Yeah.
Until you leave that world and go into another one, you realize you're just a small fish in a much bigger pond.
Right.
Right. So the ego is what damages a lot of people. because they get so they keep themselves where they're comfortable, and that's surrounded like, oh, that guy's awesome. Oh, I want him to sign my book. Oh, I want to take pictures with them. But they don't go outside of that because they feel small if they go outside of that world. So I think ego is the biggest damaging factor. But when it comes to building a following for leaders, I think right now in the business world, everybody's so focused on cost per click, cost per acquisition. How do I make that next sale, right? When we got to think long term in business. We have become a society that needs instant gratification on everything we do. Whether we post on Facebook, we're concerned about how many people liked, shared, or viewed that post, not how impactful it was for the few that saw it. We're more concerned about how many people, right? Like if I didn't get 20 likes, then people aren't watching my content and I feel small, right? So it's that instant gratification. But when it comes to business, if you want to build an empire versus a lifestyle business, it's two different mindsets, and not one mindset is wrong, but it's up to them. If you just want to build a lifestyle business, you don't really need an audience. Just make sales. You can afford that vacation, maybe that nice car that you want. But if you want to build something big, that is impossible to do without a following. And so I think if you start focusing on followers first, building that following, building that cult, right? Building the people that believe in you, the empire will follow.
Yeah.
After that. That's my viewpoint on it.
Yeah.
I get passionate about the ego side.
Yeah.
I probably get just as passionate with them because I'm in the marketing space, and as a marketer, whether I'm consulting or whether I'm implementing, I deal with a lot of this quick fast. Hey, if I don't get a return, tomorrow, then I'm wasting money. I think people forget that there's a missing piece in what we all call the funnel, right? So if we look at the three major pieces that everybody knows, it's awareness, making people aware of you, getting people to engage. In that engagement piece is where you start developing people that follow you, they may never buy, but they will follow you. They want to know what you're doing or where you're going. And then there's this conversion point. That's step number 3 in the funnel is conversion. Now you convert them, whether it's with the entry point offer. For some people in sales, it's getting them on the phone for a sales call. For product businesses, it may be, hey, they use the coupon, right? And that's normally where it stops, right? Normally it goes, hey, I make people aware of me. I try to get more people aware of me. Then I try to get people to engage. Once again, I got to, make sure everybody understands that engagement part is where you start developing followers, where people start to know, like, and trust you. Mm-hmm. When you hit that pinnacle of trust, then they'll convert, they'll buy from you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we forget this one piece, and I almost, I'm in the game so much that I almost forget. There's another piece called retention and monetization. That's the 4th piece.
Yeah.
And I would wager to say that's the most important piece.
Yeah.
It's easy to get somebody to buy from you once, right? But it's a difficult task to get people to buy from you repeatedly or increase the amount of money they spend with you. And then that's monetization, right? Getting people to buy more frequently or buy higher value items from your services. That's monetization. But then we got retention, right? How long can you retain these people to keep them engaged? Because I truly believe, like, if you don't really have a true raving fan until you have someone that has been consistently buying everything that you put out, right? Yeah. Over time, and they're recommending other people, right? So I think for the going back to the ego side, so I want to kind of make that frame. Now going back to the ego side, the ego gets caught up in that engagement portion, right? Because like Andrew said, I got people that say I'm great, and then I'm just great. But they don't realize, like, I think in this world, a lot of people aren't moving people to these next stages. So yeah, I got people that follow me. They like my stuff. They do my stuff, but I'm in business, right? I'm a business owner. Without revenue, I no longer have a business. So I have to move people from, hey, engaging, liking my stuff to convert. But the movement between these steps are very subtle, right? Some people take a hard press, buy my stuff now because it's going to leave in the next 2 days. Not true. Or it's like, hey, if you're interested in this, if you really like this, then the next logical choice is this.
Yeah.
And to say that second one, if you're interested in this, the next logical is this, you're actually pulling out the ego. Right?
Right.
Because the ego says, buy my shit, I'm great.
Yeah.
You know, but that the taking the more subtle approach is like, look, you know, if you, let's say I'm a plumber, right? I run a plumbing business. I'll use plumbing.
Yeah.
I'm in a plumbing business. I put out content on what to look for, how to choose a plumber, how to keep your pipes up, right? You know, what to do. What are the first 3 things you need to do if you have a bursting leak in your bathroom, right? So I put that out. People are liking it. They're commenting. We're engaging. We're having a conversation. Understand engagement is a 2-way street. It's not just people like, comment, and sharing. You got to like acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And then it's, hey, well, if you like this content, right, and you would like for me to actually show up and help you, then that's the next logical choice, right? There's really no ego in that.
Right.
Nobody gets put off by that. They're actually like, man, I've been watching you.
I've been waiting for you to ask.
I'm not doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, will you please come out? And I find like that's the major key, right? That's the major key. So I hope I answered that.
Yeah, I think so. And so I was thinking when you were talking there, that's really, so there's conversion, and then there's like, and then being able to do it consistently, right?
Yeah.
Like not just one time is really what I would think of as like championship leadership, right? You can get the following. There's a lot of people out there that have a big following, but they're not monetizing it.
No.
And it just feels really good to have this big following and get the likes and the hearts and the shares and all that. And then another piece to convert and then convert consistently is really probably the championship level.
You speak about champion. I'm sorry. This is so. This you hit the nail on the head. I'm a big UFC fan.
Yeah.
I've been a UFC fan since Royce Gracie won the belt back in '91.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm old school.
Yeah.
You look at boxing. You look at the Super Bowl. There's a difference between a champion and a title holder.
Yeah.
A title holder is a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
I won the belt, I'm the title holder.
Yeah.
A champion consistently defends the title over and over. You look at Tom Brady. When we look at champions, we look at Tom Brady. We look at Jordan. We talk about LeBron. These guys are champions all the time. I think if we take the same approach, right, and look at, hey, if I want to be a champion and a leader, I got to be consistent. And it has to sustain through good and bad, because there's going to be a turn. There's a lot of money out there right now.
Yeah.
Right. So I was at a investor's pitch for a friend and a client of mine. She was pitching her business to investors, and one of the VCs said, "There's a lot of money out there floating around." He called it gin and tonic money. He's like, "That's how much money there is." He's like, "But it's going to dry up." So if you don't have a sustainable business, if you can't consistently generate revenue and profits, then when the market turns, you're done. But for those that can, when the market turns, you'll be able to get talent and assets for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to grow.
Yeah.
Major key.
I love it. I love this conversation. Yeah. Because, I haven't really had this kind of a conversation around the marketing piece and influencing. How many leaders out there do you run into that, when there's a difference between, and you're kind of touching on it, between being a leader and just having the title or position of being a leader, right? I mean, just because you have that position or that title doesn't mean you are a leader.
Right.
Actually, doesn't mean it at all. Right. It's what you do with that. Have you experienced in your industry, what you guys do, the leaders that really kind of stay stagnant and not continue to grow and expand and kind of get passed by?
Yeah, it's funny that the people that we've served, from big names to the smallest little fish, right?
Yeah.
And so what I've realized is I enjoy somewhere in the middle. One, I need to know that they actually have a sustainable business, that they can actually sell a product or a service, and it's a product or service that we choose who we're going to work with based on if we like them, right? If we like them, if we like their business model, if we see potential, that's how we choose it. Before, I would just take money from anyone, right? Like, oh, you'll give me money? Yeah, I'll do whatever you say.
Yeah.
And I realized quickly that, going back to egos, is I got tired of serving egos. So now we actually screen everybody before we decide who we're going to work with. But what I realized is the hardest ones to get to take action are the ones that already have an existing audience. because they think that they know everything because they've already built this following. Because I've got, look, I'll give an example, and this isn't a hate towards any name at all.
Yeah.
But if you go to Grant Cardone's page, where 4 million people are following that page,
Yeah.
and go tell me what post has more than 1,000 likes on it. And I promise you it's going to be really, really hard to find any post that has 1,000, interactions, except live videos may be a little bit more. But the majority of them get about 400, 500, 600 maybe interactions from 4 million people, right? So we all get so caught up in, I got to have as many likes as possible. I know people that run pages of over 500,000 fans that can't even get them to buy a $20 t-shirt. You know what I mean? That's not, there's a saying that people have said numerous times, and I love the saying, is all you truly need, and I forgot who said it, maybe Omari can tell me, is all you truly need is 1,000 true fans to build an empire. Like, that's all you really need, 1,000 true fans, which is what Omari was talking about, the people that consistently buy and talk about you and are always there. The biggest thing I've seen is the people who've already built somewhat of an audience, they decide to stop listening because, well, I've already done it. All I got to do is recreate what I've done over and over again. And what we realize is we go through phases in our life, we go through phases in our business. What got us here isn't going to get us here. It's not, because you've used that resource, right? The resource is now tapped out. You got to change directions and change it up. Or you're going to stay where you are, or you're going to lose followers because nothing's changing. And they need consistent change, because a human being has an average attention span of a goldfish, which is about 8 seconds.
Yeah.
So that tells you, you want to keep that attention, you got to consistently change. You got to keep them on their toes.
Examples from a marketing perspective. Now I look at the space. I've only been in the game for 7 years, right? Wrote my first sales letter 7 years ago.
Yeah.
That actually converted. It was actually pretty cool. So I realize in marketing, especially digital marketing, a lot of business owners get confused, or they have paralysis analysis, because there's always something new, always something like, oh, there's Facebook and Instagram. Oh, there's IGTV. Oh, well, maybe I should go Twitter. Oh, there's Snapchat. So when I look at examples of leadership in marketing space, we can go back to 1923 and find out everything we need to know. There was a book written in 1923 called Scientific Advertising by a man named Claude Hopkins. If you read that book, which I've read multiple times, you will find out that that's where the free trial came from. That's where the coupon came from.
Yeah, wow.
That's where tracking came from. The principles of influencing someone to purchase a product, the exchange of value, was written hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So when I look at leaders, I look at the ones who's following the principles, or who's just the flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I pay attention to a lot of the old school cat. I just had dinner with a mentor of mine, Ron Lynch. Ron Lynch was behind some of the biggest campaigns we know, OxyClean, George Foreman Grill. So I pay attention to what he says.
Yeah.
And what I realize is, like, there's things that he's doing right now that are no different than what he did before to sell over $4 billion worth of products.
Yeah.
He's just leveraging it on a new platform. He's like, Omari, I'm doing this thing on Facebook, and I called up some of the guys, and he runs with the top circle. It's like, they didn't even know this. And I look back, remember the campaign I showed you earlier?
Yeah.
That's exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it a different way. Like, oh, okay, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
So when we look at leadership and leadership and marketing and who the leaders are, look at those that follow these principles, right? And then they just mold the principles to different platforms. I really like, I like watching Gary Vee, what he does, because if you look at the amount of effort he puts towards putting his message out every single day, that's a principle. Yeah. Because that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like you say, principles, they never change, right?
Never change.
They stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And then it's being open to not thinking that you know it all, and knowing that there are things that change, and staying up with that too, and being willing to work with others that are leaders in the industry as well. Yeah. Let's talk about maybe a little bit away from, and maybe not, but take it back. I always like to talk, as a championship leader, there's always things that happen in our life where it's like that turning point, that moment where you could have went left and you go right. And and this reason that you're here today. But it could have been like the moment that you maybe got out of completely what you're doing and are on a completely different path. Like there's usually a few moments that kind of come immediately to mind when you think about those moments in your life where, you know, a leader has the courage and the vision to see things that others aren't able to see, and also the courage to be able to actually make that decision and go that route when no one else is willing to do that. You know, I think of, I don't know if you guys are college football fans, but last year in the title game, Alabama, Nick Saban took out his starting quarterback and got him there for this other guy that hadn't played, that now is, you know, the star,
the superstar,
and ended up winning the title because of it. And that was like a decision that I don't think many coaches would make on that stage. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about. So what's coming to mind for you guys?
So for me, it was because I was running a really successful publicity firm, right? 7 figures in a year. I used to hold that with like that badge of honor. I created a 7-figure company in 12 months. Didn't mean I was profitable, right? I built a 7-figure company, but I wasn't making, like, it's not like I was a millionaire. Right. I think that's important for everybody to understand. When someone says 7 figures, it doesn't mean they're a millionaire, especially in business. I mean, how many expenses do we have? And so, but I was on my way. I could have built it into something much bigger. And I think when you're a true leader is having to get uncaught, right? You get stuck in this mindset of, oh, I love this money. I love seeing the numbers in my bank account. I love all this. But I was miserable every single day that I woke up. Every day I woke up, it was a call from another upset client or a team member not showing up to work. Or I just, like, every day it was so stressful that it was ruining my relationship with my family. You know what I mean? Like, I was becoming an angry father. I was an angry husband. Like, I was a great businessman, but that was the only place in my life that I was exceeding. And so what I did was I shut down the company. I didn't sell it. I shut it down, completely just demolished it. And went after the veteran entrepreneur market and built a community, became the world's largest community of military veteran entrepreneurs that ever exists, right? But I took a year off. In that year, I probably generated about $500,000 in revenue. So I profited about $100K to $200K. And that was a huge difference from $1 million, right? I had to get used to a whole different lifestyle. I sold my Rolex. I didn't fly first class anymore. Like, I had gotten used to the nice lifestyle, but I was rebuilding a relationship with my family. So I believe when you're a true leader is when you see that you're screwing something up, so you need to step back. Sometimes you just need to start all over in life. Just burn everything and start again. And that's the best part about life. People think that there's not a reset button, but there is. You just have to be brave enough to click that button. Because leaving all that money on the table, that's scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I got 3 kids to feed. But for me is, I will always find out a way to pay the bills. Always. I will always figure it out. But I don't need to be rich. My kids didn't care about the money. They're not old enough to even know what money is.
Right.
What they care about is daddy playing with me. Is he yelling at me or is he kissing on me? Is he home or is he gone all the time? So I realized I had to fix that before I could really focus on business.
Yeah, that's an incredible example because the story usually goes like, had the 7-figure business and burnt everything else to the ground, ended up divorced, and ultimately the business crashed as well, right? And they don't recover.
Yeah.
So that's phenomenal to be able to. That's, I mean, a ton of courage to be able to make that decision, knowing where it's at. But really, I guess if you really think about it from the perspective that you have, it's like it was an easy decision because of your family and what matters most to you and to do that. So
I think it's up to, if you have the talent, if you know that you can always make money appear out of thin air, then it's even easier decision. And I believe that's a talent some people have or don't have. So it depends on if you have that, on if you can continue to do it. And I believe it's a talent you can get. But again, it's just knowing that I will always figure out finances. I can always replace money. I can never replace time.
Yeah. Love
it. When have I made a pivot? There's only been 3 phases.
Well, you got one. You've already told one story that I know that I think of, but yeah, I'm interested to hear if there's anything else.
There's 3 phases in my life. I was a kid, I was in the military, and an entrepreneur. It was only 3 phases. I spent 21.5 years. So the pivot, I'll go back to, just kind of expand on a story that I told at the event, because that was really my deal. So 13 years old, I see a book report on Navy SEALs. I'm like, that is my life. From 13 till, so 13, we're talking 89 to 98 was my complete single focus. I made the grade, I passed the test, I swam an hour a day. Like my wife, she's my third wife and my first wife, she would tell me she remembers sitting at the pool reading a book while I would swim for an hour, 2 hours every day. So I get there, and it's July 23rd, 1998. I'm in my second BUDS class because I got medically dropped. I got hooked up with the next class. I was in class 219. I got dropped from that class, rolled into 220. July 23rd, it's 2 days from my July 24th. Yeah, the 24th. It's a Friday. Why do I know this date? Because on Sunday, my birthday in 1998 was supposed to be Hell Week. I got medically dropped on that Friday. And I remember Doc Mosier. I'll never forget Doc Mosier. He was super cool. SEAL, physician assistant. He's like, dude, if I put you through Hell Week, like, I'm going to destroy your leg and you may never walk right again. So why don't you go heal up for 2 years and then you can come back. He put in my medical record. So I leave. I kind of mourn for like 6 months. I'm like, fuck, this is my whole life. What am I going to do? I get orders to Hawaii. I train up. I go again. Before I go back for my dive physical, I've already passed the test. It's a shoe-in. All I got to do is get the doc to sign off. And I'm headed back to training. Doc looks at me. He's like, you have reactive airway disease. And that's disqualified from diving. Like, I cannot let you dive. I'm like, I was just there 2 years ago. Like, I was there. It's in my record. And I'm like, shit, it's over. What am I going to do? I spent, at this point, 2 years from 98, so 2001, like I've spent a bulk of my life from my teenage year to my young adult life trying to achieve this goal. And now you're telling me I can't do it. So I'm thinking, all right, Navy's career is who wants to be on a ship for 20 years? Like, that sucks. And it was my best friend, one of my best friends, his name is Chris Osmond, former SEAL. We grew up together since the third grade. He went to the Marine Corps for 5 years, then went to BUDS and graduated, went to SEAL Team 3. And I got on the phone with him because he was part of the reason I wanted to do that. And I was like, dude, I'm done. What am I going to do? And he's like, calm down. He's like, look, man, being a SEAL is just a job. It's a job like any other job. It just so happens that our job, you got to have qualifications. Every job has qualifications. He's like, but hey, look, check this out. There's this other thing that they're starting up that looks pretty cool. You should go do that. Happened to be what's called visit board search and seizure. So imagine a SWAT team out on the seas, counter narcotics, contraband, all that stuff. So I'm like, cool. All right, bro, I'll trust you. I'll trust you. And I did. And so I went to a ship. I did VBSS. Then I got to do VBS. That was a part-time job. That was like, hey, here's your real job. And oh, by the way, you get to go board ships at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it wasn't really cool. But I stuck around, got real good at the job, started reaching a leadership position. And it came up, the Navy started a full-time team. That's all we did. Jump out of helicopters, CQB, combative, shoot, workout. I did that for 2007 to 2009. Made chief out of that. Once I made chief, I was up for orders and I got sent to Mobile Comm Team 1, which happens to be a communications team that supports SEAL teams. So I did my last deployment in 2010 with SEAL Team 3. And a lot of my buddies that were in my BUDS class back then, when I first started, were now chiefs, senior chiefs, commanders. So it was like homecoming. I finally got a chance to be where I wanted to be. So the pivot was, when did that make that pivot? I could have made one decision. One decision could have took me way off course. And it was because of those experiences that got me to where I am today. I would not be where I am today if I did not have those chain of events happen. So I could have just quit and just been like, Navy. I'm done.
Yeah, like a lot of people I think would have, right? And
I know it's kind of long. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. That's a great story. And yeah, because there's so many people that will come across those times and you know, choose the other one, or maybe the decision that most would, right?
Yeah.
So just like, screw this, I'm out of here, I'm done, or go, you know, live in a bar for a year.
Which a lot of guys did.
Yeah, and you know, because that's a dream that you had for a very long time, that you envisioned and worked for, and it didn't happen. But in the end, because of the decision you made, really kind of in a way, it all worked out.
It worked out great.
Yeah,
pretty damn awesome.
Yeah. So let's before we wrap this up, let's talk about. So that you had these experiences. Yeah, I think another great characteristic in being a championship leader is to take those lessons and then carry them with you to apply through the rest of your life. So how have you guys, what have you learned, or what are some of the lessons from that you take and carry with you inside of what you do today, with your business, your life, your family?
What I've learned is, and Omari and I talk about this a lot. We're very big family men, right? Like, family is everything to us. There is no such thing as permanent in life, right? Your kids grow up, they go on, they start their own families, they move out. Things can go south with your spouse. Like, there's no such thing as permanent anywhere. So what I've learned is to really enjoy the good moments. You know what I mean? Because we all face like really great times in our life and the worst times in our life. And I think the more we experience the worst times, the more we enjoy the great times. So what I've learned to do from my experiences of being that bad father and getting rid of my business is, when the moments are really good, just really being in that moment. I think a lot of us, especially as entrepreneurs, we think, all right, I reached it. Okay, what's next? Instead of just like, I reached it. Let me enjoy this moment for a minute. Let me live and realize that I just accomplished a part of my dream. Yeah, I wanted to go further, but I think so many of us get so caught up in just like move. We forget to just enjoy those moments, that first time that your kid talks, the first time they walk, when they want you to wrestle with them. When my kids, 2 years old, 4 years old, 10 years old, right? My 2-year-old, my 4-year-old still sleeps in bed with us. And my 10-year-old sleeps on a pallet on the ground. That's her choice. She has the room. Like, we are not broke. We have, every kid has their own room, but they choose to sleep with us in our room. And we allow them to, because a lot of people tell me you shouldn't do that. For me, one day they're not going to want to do that anymore. One day they're not going to want to be around that because that's not cool enough. So I'm going to enjoy these moments. I'm going to wake up to my kids every morning, because it's not forever. And so I think that's what I took out from it, is you can always replace money, but you can't replace time. You can't replace memories.
Yes, love it. That's powerful.
I think for mine is, words are super powerful. They can change lives. They can destroy lives. It was the words that, when Chris was on the phone with me, it was his words that helped me make that decision.
Yeah.
I look at, even as a marketer, when I started writing copy, I've written copy words on a page that have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. So words are very powerful. I think you have to think carefully about what you say, know what you're saying, and know the meaning of it. Because there's a lot of words that we use that people have no clue what it means. Yeah. Right? But words have meaning, and words are very powerful. And as a leader, when you're in a leadership position, your words carry more weight than you think. Yeah. Right? Because in the military, as an officer, hey, go over that hill. That dude may be going to his death. Knowing.
Yes, right.
And you know it, right? However, that's what's going to accomplish the mission, right? So words are powerful. Be careful how you use them. Know that you can move mountains with words. What you say, your story that you tell, the good times, the bad times, you can give hope, right? You can invoke fear. So, words are very powerful. That's the biggest lesson I've learned, through that moment was, man, what was said to me, what Doc Coots told me years ago that I still remember. Mm-hmm. Words can move mountains, so use them wisely.
I love it. That's a great way to wrap this up, I think, for sure. Real quick before we do that, tell the audience, how they can follow you guys, find you guys. We'll put this all in the show notes too. But yeah, just give the listeners a way to find you guys and learn more about you.
Yeah, just put the before our names on Facebook. So the Omari Broussard, the Andrew O'Brien, you can find us on there.
Yeah, that's the best part. We put content out every day. We want to engage in the conversation with people, answer questions, and highlight folks. Like it's Facebook where it's at. That's where we at.
Yeah.
Day in, day out. So find us there.
Great. Well, I appreciate you guys being here and being with us and taking time out of your day to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Hey, do you guys have a bio and a headshot or a picture? It doesn't have to be a headshot. A picture.
I do.